however unwanted it may be, is part of our lives. And sometimes it happens at a time when we least expect it, leaving our families in turmoil and sometimes ugly fights that tear them apart. Most of these fights are usually about how property is managed or shared after someone dies. On 30th March 2021, the Parliament of Uganda passed a bill called the Succession Amendment Act of 2021, which is intended to improve on how properties are managed when a person dies. If this bill is signed into law by the President, it will bring some changes about how property is managed after a person's demise. Today's discussion will be all about the key changes that are being brought on board by this bill. Listen in very closely because it may help you in future to resolve some of the family disputes that may affect you. You're welcome to the Justice Connect, and thank you for reconnecting with us after we took a break. We are still here to serve you and give you all the information that you may need to easily access justice. This is your host, Amicus. Now let's go down to understand what this law says. Have you ever heard of the term illegitimate child? Or maybe you could have used it in reference to someone. Well, this bill outlaws the term illegitimate child and replaces it with another one called a child born outside wedlock. The term illegitimate child was found to be discriminatory and not appropriate to be used in reference to any child. So watch out, next time you're referring to any child, please do not refer to the term illegitimate child. One of the most controversial areas in matters of succession has been how the property is distributed once a person dies without leaving a will. This bill specifically tries to bring into perspective how a child that is still going to school or is still of a school-going age can be taken care of even when their parent or their guardian dies. Under this bill, 20% of the property left behind by the deceased can be set aside to take care of the younger children who are still going to school, and it is meant to provide for basic needs such as school fees, medical care, and other basic needs that these children may need while growing up. And this 20% cannot be part of the property to be shared by the family. Spouses have a reason to smile because this bill seeks to protect their rights significantly. It increases a spouse's share in the property of the deceased from 15% to 50%. I believe this will reduce wrangles within the families where other family members are running to grab property from the spouse of the deceased person. The descendants of the deceased person, let's say the children, the grandchildren, or other lineal descendants of the deceased, are entitled to a 41% share in the property. One more thing I should inform you today before I leave is that this bill protects a residential house. The residential house cannot be shared amongst the property of the deceased person. It remains a family home to house the family even after the person has died, and therefore the relatives cannot claim to come up and say that the house should be sold or shared amongst themselves once a person has died. It remains a family home. Well, you've heard for yourself some of the key features that this bill is likely to bring for us. Do you think it will help us improve the way properties of the deceased are managed? Do you think it will help us reduce some of the property wrangles that are so common in our communities? Do you think that the President should sign it into law? Let us know what you think. Reach us through our social media handles on Twitter, on Facebook, and through our email as listed on our website. Thank you for being with us today on the Justice Connect. We treasure your presence. Look out for another episode of the Justice Connect in the coming weeks, and continue to be an ambassador of justice within your communities. I remain your host, Amicus.
This message is brought to you by Justice Hive.